drama scenes with drama queens and heroes acting out there on the silver screen. Come grab a seat, the popcorn is on me.
Hello, welcome to Meet Me in the Movies. Noel T. Manning II here, and my lips are a little dry, so I want to use a little bit of chapstick here. Yeah, because you can't. Yeah, there we go. No, yeah, this is a generic chapstick. I think it's pulled from resources found in Lake Hollyfield, or either Moss Lake, or it's possible it could be from the Broad River. But anyway,
Hauser, perhaps.
Lake Hauser, possibly Lake Hauser. But ultimately, what's got to happen is everybody's got to take care of their lips. Dry lips are not good. So there's a little bit of public service announcement. Dry lips are not good. There's the tagline. Noel T. Manning II here with Thomas Manning. We do talk cinema right here, courtesy of C19 TV. We appreciate that. And if you get a chance to listen to the radio version, podcast version through WGWG, thanks for doing that too. So, Thomas, dude, a ton to talk about, and we may spend most of the time talking about a little thing called Barbenheimer. It's a bit of a paradox, how this July weekend at the movie box office exceeded everybody's expectations. When you think about summer box office, really as you approach kind of the last few weeks of July and into August, it's really many times it's some of those throwaway films that you're not expecting to really bring in the money because there's not as much time. I mean, you think back to the Top Gun film, it brought in so much money, but it launched early in the summer. But here we have Barbie and Oppenheimer, two completely different types of films that found ways to succeed at the box office, defying expectations.
Yeah, you mentioned Top Gun Maverick, but that was 2 months earlier in the summer last year compared to this weekend. We have Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yes.
And all of the other films that were supposed to be our big blockbusters for this summer, whether it's, The Flash or Indiana Jones, or I think there's a couple others out there that I probably just have forgotten about because they didn't make much of an impact. But finally, we have this third weekend in July that's actually the fourth biggest box office weekend in cinematic history between the success of Barbie and Oppenheimer.
That astounds me, man. That really astounds me. That the fourth biggest ever. I'm still blown away by that.
Yeah, two films that could not be more different from each other in terms of style, in terms of story, and but I think a consistency between them is they are both driven by auteur directors who have continued to build names for themselves. Obviously, Christopher Nolan, about 25 years doing this now. Greta Gerwig's a little bit newer to the scene, only about 6 years. She's been behind the camera as a director, but both of them have, really firmly rooted themselves as very important and incredible voices in cinema. And I think that was one of the reasons that we've seen the success that we have with both Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah, it's amazing to see that kind of weekend. And I know there was a lot of talk initially about these two films competing against each other for that same weekend, but they're different crowds. But what I found interesting is that those of us who love cinema, like yourself and so many of us that we're connected with, they were drawn to both of those. So from an artistic audience, both of these films drew people. Even saw one of our friends who had a T-shirt made that had Barbie on one side and Oppenheimer on the other, and that was pretty witty. If I'd been smart enough, I would have created something like that. And I know that you wore your pink when you went to see Barbie.
That is correct. I had a nice pink polo button up, and my sister Catherine went to see the movie with her, and she was all embarrassed. She was like, "Thomas, don't tuck it in like that. You're gonna look so goofy. You're gonna look so out of place." But then we get there, and she was actually the only one not wearing pink. So, Catherine, who's looking goofy now? That's all I have to say.
Who's looking goofy now? Well, there you go, Catherine. I guess he's asking you the question. You got to respond. You got to respond. Well, Thomas, let's dive into reviews of both of these films. And which one do you want to start out with?
We can start out with Oppenheimer. At the point that we're recording this, it's been a week since I saw it, and I'm still processing and stewing on it. And really, there were, I guess, four primary adjectives that I walked away with right off the bat. I said that Oppenheimer is staggering, haunting, tragic, and mesmerizing. And the structure of the film is really one of the things that really stood out to me. The first hour is more of a biopic, but it's a biopic as only Nolan can do. You're going to have the cross-cutting and the different timelines, the flash forwards and flashbacks, and that first hour sets up this visual idea with part of the film being shot in black and white, and that's a section of the narrative that is a bit further in the future, and then the time that is more in the build up to the atomic bomb, that's in color, not black and white. And then the second hour of the film is this scientific procedural, as this group of just the brightest minds in the entire world are coming together to develop this scientific achievement. And then the third hour, basically at the second hour, right at the 2 hour mark, is when we have the Trinity test, which we thought the entire film had been building up to. And so when that happens, you think, okay, there's still another hour left of this film. We're only 2/3 of the way through it. What are we going to do in this last hour? So that last hour pivots to this political thriller, bureaucratic drama, courtroom drama. So three films that are all, fit together and pieced together into one, massive, sweeping epic.
That's incredibly fascinating to me that a film like this, it is an awards type film, awards caliber film, and I've seen so many who have said, just wait for the Oscars to have two films that were released in July. You may be seeing some Oscar nominations, some award nominations through for award season for both of these films for different reasons. Oppenheimer's one that I have been waiting for a while, and excited to be able to see. And it's one of those that if you're a history buff, you're going to be drawn to it without a doubt. If you're a fan of Nolan, you're going to be drawn to it. And if you're just a fan of cinema altogether, I think you'll be drawn to it as well. So it has an audience. And this movie exceeded box office expectations by about 30 million, I think. I think it was for opening weekend, I think it was anticipated if you get 50 million, they're going to be happy. And it, what was 80, I think, and some change?
Yeah, that is correct. So the projections were about 50 million domestic, but it ended up being 82 million domestic in its opening weekend and 180 worldwide, which basically shattered all anticipations.
Yeah, it's a film that we will be hearing about in the months to come. You can count on that. I would be shocked if this did not roll back around during award season. So you talked about the technical aspects of this from a standpoint. One of the things that I'm going to say I've had some issues with on some of Nolan's films is the sound mix. And Dunkirk especially, there were some issues. I was like, okay, I can't even hear the dialogue. Still love the film. But that's something that I think we've kind of continued to see with some of Nolan's films. Is that the case here on this one?
Really, that wasn't even something that I thought about watching this movie. And I do remember the first time I saw Tenet, his most recent film, I walked away from that kind of just annoyed at how almost violent the sound was. I kind of walked away from that with ringing ears and just really well, I had a terrible theatrical experience anyway, so maybe that wasn't the best judge of that. But with Oppenheimer, it really was an issue for me whatsoever. And I think it did help that I saw the film in an IMAX theater with really great sound quality. And I have heard a few other complaints from people saying that the dialogue is, still having some of those Nolan issues. But for me personally, it wasn't even something that I was thinking about until I saw some other tweets and other Facebook posts, but
Yeah.
that wasn't really an issue for me.
Okay, awesome. So, any other comments you want to make sure you share about Oppenheimer before you offer your rating?
Just want to talk about the incredible IMAX cinematography from Hoyt van Hoytema. The lenses they used were massive, and just the scope of the frame was really enchanting. From the classroom and the campus to the New Mexico desert to the courtroom, and it's just what they can fit in a frame within a single image is just really awe-inspiring. And also have to give a shout out to the editor, Jennifer Lame, I mentioned this very unique structure of the film, and so many different timelines you're pulling together. And then also we keep seeing glimpses of the same moments from different perspectives, and there are unique visual styles to represent each of these perspectives. And just, I can't imagine a film later this year being better edited than this one. I think this is going to be the front runner for a lot of those technical categories of the Oscars, including editing, including cinematography. And then, of course, got to mention Cillian Murphy. It is a truly phenomenal performance. It's his best performance that I've ever seen. I think Robert Downey Jr., his castmate, said that he's never seen a greater sacrifice by an actor than what Cillian Murphy did with Oppenheimer. And just the cast in general, we could spend a whole show talking about just how stacked this cast of characters was, from, as I mentioned, Murphy and Downey Jr. to Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, Florence Pugh, Alden Ehrenreich, who we know from Solo. He's getting back to the mix of things, and that just made me so happy. I could spend an hour or 2 hours talking about this whole movie, but no, we gotta move on to Barbie here in a little bit. But Oppenheimer, really, it's a solid A, and
awesome.
It's one that I can't wait to check out again.
Okay, and I will ask this final question before we go to break and come back and talk Barbie. Robert Downey Jr. is a lot of good buzz out there about him and about what he's done with this particular role. Do you see kind of a Best Supporting nomination for the various awards groups coming out of this for him?
Without a doubt, I think, and especially considering it's been a few years coming off Iron Man and how that took up pretty much his entire career for a decade. Yeah. And we haven't heard from him much since then, and now he's coming back, and I think this is going to be a great run for him this year.
Well, we've heard from him, but not in roles other than Tony Stark. So let's make sure, or not in many roles other than Tony Stark.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Within the past 4 years, we haven't heard much from him at all.
Right. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, the movie is Oppenheimer. It is still in theaters. See it on the biggest screen possible. Do not watch it on your iPod Nano. That is something that we probably want to get you to stay away from. You'll miss something. You'll probably miss something you probably should have seen. You are watching and spending time with us right here. If you're listening to Meet Me at the Movies, we appreciate you. We're going to take a quick intermission. When we come back, we're going to talk Barbie, and we'll see if we have time for anything else. And if not, that's fine. But we got to talk Barbie. So stick around. We'll be right back after this intermission.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch it?
Hey, I'm David Allen, back as Armchair Quarterback host for 2023.
I'm Guy Suttle from C19 TV Sports.
And I'm Rob Roop from KTCBroadcasting.com.
What's in store on the gridiron for 2023? Each week we look at all 4 Cleveland County High School football teams, Burns, Crest, Kings Mountain, and Shelby. We will look at what happened the week before and look ahead at what's coming up this week.
And we'll also discuss ACC, SEC, and Gardner-Webb college football.
And of course, the NFL and those Carolina Panthers.
So don't miss another great season of football right here on Armchair Quarterback on C19 TV and online at c19.tv.
Hi, I'm Shara Miller, the host of Artworks. Each month we bring to you wonderful, talented artists from here in in Cleveland County and the region. We have artists, we have potters, we have painters, we have musicians, we have actors. We just have wonderful artists that come to you and tell you about all that they're doing, their creativity, what inspires them. Join me here on Artworks each month on C19. You can also watch us online at C19.TV.
Hi, I'm Nikki Bliss Carroll, your host for Cleveland Connections, the show that explores what's happening at Cleveland Community College. Join us as we sit down with members of faculty and staff to discuss programs of study, upcoming events, and other exciting campus news. We'll have a new show for you each month on C19 TV, or you can stream us online at C19.TV. Tune in and connect with Cleveland Community College on Cleveland Connections.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch a flick?
Hello, welcome back to Meet Me at the Movies. Noel T. Manning II here along with Thomas Manning. And before the break, we talked about part one of the Barbenheimer opening weekend. We talked about Oppenheimer. So that was actually part two if you're going to look at it from a phonetic standpoint. So we checked out that second part first. So now we're going to talk about getting pink, and the whole world was enjoying some pinkalicious activity at the theater. It was pretty amazing actually seeing dads take their kids and then seeing brothers take their sisters, and man, they showed up in droves to see Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling as Ken and Barbie.
That's right. Talking about how this weekend basically shattered all box office expectations, and Barbie definitely lived up to that as well with a $160 million domestic opening weekend, 350 plus million worldwide, the largest opening of the year by far, and also the largest opening ever for a female director. And I think that, as you mentioned, a lot of that is just the incredible range of demographics from people coming out to see this.
Yeah, that's incredible to me because this is a film that, looking at it at face value, I remember when they first talked about making this film, and then the director attached to it, I said, well, this is an amazing director, but she's not done anything like this. And what is this film going to be like? And when I started seeing the trailers, I realized, okay, this is going to be like something I don't know that I've seen before in quite some time. It's not just a Barbie world. It's got this different element, and I have to break out my Snyder Save the Cat book to see what genre this fits in. But we've seen other films stylistically from a thematic standpoint that look at worlds within worlds, or worlds outside of worlds, and even this summer, Spider-Verse, Flash, alternate dimensions and alternate worlds. That tends to be a theme that we've got going on. It's a little different here in Barbie for sure, but give us the storyline for those that may not quite get the storyline from the trailer.
Yes, so we have our real world that we live in, that you and I live in, and then there is this kind of fantastical dreamscape, Barbie land, I guess you call it, Barbie world, and but that is still the individuals who reside there. They are sentient. They do have their own lives. They are still going through their daily life, but their daily life is basically perfect. It's completely smooth around all the edges. They encounter no obstacles, no challenges, unless there is some interference from the outside world. And that's kind of what we see happening here. That there is a fragile bond between that world and our world, and when something happens to disrupt that bond, well, the fate of the universe could possibly be at stake.
Yeah, which is crazy because we saw that in Spider-Verse. We also saw that in Flash. We've seen it in other things as well. There was a film that I love, Pleasantville, from years ago with Tobey Maguire, and just a phenomenal film.
Reese Witherspoon, I believe.
Reese Witherspoon as well. That's one of those where you're breaking kind of the boundaries between reality and a different alternate reality. Why do you think it is that right now that tends to be a theme we're going back to is, reaching into other alternate, what if universes?
Well, I think really you just see how many things have shifted in our, social landscape and our cultural landscape within the past 5 to 10 years. Um, Obviously, there's been a lot of political turmoil,
Hmm.
and then also in 2020 with the way the COVID pandemic shifted the
Yeah.
entire world and kind of stopped rotating the world on its axis for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's inspired storytellers and filmmakers to explore certain sections of, what if this thing had happened here, or what if this had happened at a different time, or what if this had happened like, just a moment earlier? How would that change the entire world? So I think there could be some connection there.
I've continued to talk to others who have seen this film, those that are fans, just movie fans, those that are casual moviegoers, and then also those that are critics. And it's been pretty interesting, almost universal, that people are talking about the messages that they have been getting from this film. Talk about the messages that stand out to you. Is that or is that something that stood out to you?
Absolutely, without a doubt. So my first reaction from walking away from Barbie, I basically said it felt like there were 6 different movies in it, that there were so many ideas and so many things that they were trying to explore, and that I maybe liked 4 out of those 6 movies, and one of those movies was like my favorite comedy in years. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized that I actually loved like all 6 of these movies that are in
Wow.
Barbie. I loved everything that it did. And that I think more than anything, I'm just glad that a movie that's this, bizarre and beautiful is bringing together so many people and making so much money. And this is great for the industry. This is great for the, future of, artistic filmmakers. And this does explore existentialism. As Margot Robbie's Barbie, as I mentioned, due to some interference from the outside world in some sense, she begins to question pretty much everything about where she is and who she is, and she has to go on this Wizard of Oz type journey to
Yeah.
put all the pieces together and find her identity, because she hasn't really had her identity has just been being perfect, being flawless, and going through life without any sort of challenges. And now she has to figure out what it means to be, a woman, what it means to be a Barbie, and how the Barbie has been a reflection of women in culture for all these decades, and how perhaps there have been some issues with that reflection, and I just think that's a really beautiful thing that Greta Gerwig explored that in this film. And I think there's a monologue from America Ferrera in this film that's been making the rounds on TikTok and on social media, and it's the type of monologue that you will see played for years and years in the future. Just a monologue basically about the experience of women in the world, and she just delivers this 2 minutes straight of dialogue, just pouring out her heart, from the page onto the screen. So that's, I was sitting next to my sister, and I know we were both at that moment just kind of, we could feel us and pretty much everybody else in the audience almost just feel our breath taken away.
Wow.
And there are a few other moments like that, where as Margot Robbie's Barbie, she learns to basically feel negative emotions for the first time. She like sheds her first tears in a moment, and
Yeah.
just seeing that entire range of emotion come over Margot Robbie's face. And there's just so many moments like that that are really just pulled straight from the heart of Greta Gerwig, and straight from the heart of I think the experience of women everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And obviously, as a man, there's only so much that I can comment on that side of things.
Yeah.
But I do think just that speaks to the power of empathy within storytelling. And as Roger Ebert always said, the power of film as empathy machines that generate empathy and give you a glimpse into experiences that you may never be able to experience personally directly, but movies can give you that chance to walk through that in a 2 hour period.
Wow. Wow. Well, for a film that honestly, when you think about just the name of and about the subject matter of looking at a plastic doll, if you look at that, you're like, how do you make that into something meaningful? Well, how you do it is you attach a director and writer that can go beyond that, and Greta has continued to find ways to write stories and direct that speaks to the woman, as you mentioned, but also speaks beyond that, and can help us to kind of appreciate and understand things in a different light. And that's how you make that happen. That's how you do it. You find somebody that knows what they're doing and has a story to tell. And this is a movie that has told a story that is resonating with audiences across the spectrum. And it is one that, come awards time, you may be finding some nominations coming out of this as well. Thomas, final thoughts, comments you want to make sure you share about Barbie, the biggest films of the year.
Yeah, well, I got to talk about Ryan Gosling for just a minute. And Ryan Gosling as Ken. Ken really gets an arc that is just as complete, just as rounded and developed as Barbie's arc in this. And it's probably Ryan Gosling's best comedic performance ever. And I think his style of comedy just fits perfectly with, what always hits me and always gets a laugh out of me. And he has to learn that as Ken, he is Knuff. I'll just say that for you.
Awesome.
There's a great sweater that he wears that I want that sweater. And I am
Put it on your
Knuff.
Christmas list.
Yes.
Put it on your Christmas list, man.
Yes.
Awesome. Barbie is in theaters and it's going to be in there for quite a while. You think this has got some good legs, Thomas?
Oh yeah. This and Oppenheimer, and I think Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning as well. I think they're going to dominate the rest of the summer, and there's not really much competition for them moving forward.
Awesome. Well, Thomas, give us your rating for Barbie.
Solid A for Barbie as well. So both
Okay.
Barbie and Oppenheimer, solid A.
It was a great double feature weekend for Thomas. A solid A for both Oppenheimer and Barbie. We do appreciate everybody taking time with us right here on Meet Me at the Movies each week. However you choose to do that, we do appreciate you. And if you have questions or comments to email to us, do that at info@c19.tv. That's info@c19.tv. And until next time, for Thomas Manning and for the entire Meet Me at the Movies crew, I'm Noel T. Manning II, and that's a wrap.
Many films to view until we meet again. Next time we see you, we'll gladly fill you in. We'll tell about the happy and the sad ones. We'll talk about the good ones and the bad ones. Many films to view till we meet again.